Hello. So, about Yule. So Yule was about the god Thor, and it was about the god Freya, and it was about the goddess Suna. So the Yule log was for Jólnar, for Thor. You would get an oak Yule log normally, but if you didn't have one around, or if no oak trees would give you permission to take a Yule log from them, then you were sometimes trapped and unable to use an oak, so you would have to use some other tree which you had permission to take a Yule log from. So, because you remember our pagan ancestors would ask the trees first, and then they would, if the tree would agree to it, then they would carve a Odal rune in the tree for the home, and then it would be a home for that tree spirit to go to, and then you were able to cut down the tree without harming the spirit. And so that is why we do the Yule log, is for Thor, to honor Thor, Thor. And like that tree, Donner's oak, right? Thor's oak tree. So the Yule, like the Yule ham or the Yule roast, that was for Freyr, the god Freyr. That is to honor Freyr, because Freyr, he would have always the boar with him, right? His boar. So that is why we would honor Freyr by eating a boar or a pig, ham, pork roast, whatever. So that was the symbol for him. And then we would also make sun wheels for the goddess Suna. So you would get like small flexible tree branches or whatever, and some hay or straw, and then you would build a little circle, and sometimes you'd make a cross in the middle of it or something like that. So depending, and then how creative you are, I guess, depending on that. But anyway, so it represents Suna coming back because of the shortest day of the year, and after that all the other days get longer and longer. So then you would burn the sun wheel, and you'd either throw it in a fire, or some people would make a big one and then they would roll it down the side of a hill into a lake or a pond. That was popular in Germany. So there's that. And then the color red was often associated with Yule, because that is Thor's favorite color, according to the sagas. And that is also why, like, armbands, like rings of truth, your troth ring, your oath swearing rings that they would wear, they would always usually have a red stone inside them, because it was for Thor. And that's why women would wear red dresses at their weddings. And yeah, so that is why red was associated with Yule, to represent Thor. And the festival of Yule, what it means is wheel. Like that's what it actually means, is a wheel. So representing, of course, Suna, the goddess, the sun wheel. And what people would do is, a lot of them would get married. It was a popular time to get married in the Yuletide month, because you had the two gods of marriage. Thor, the god of boundaries, right? He would bound the souls together. And then you would have Freyr, the god of fertility, right? Of the expansion and fertility, and also a god of love. So you would have the two of them there, and both of them were usually used at a marriage. What they would do to represent Freyr, they would put a piece of like bacon, like a piece of pork, and they would have a piece of cooked pork there, whatever they chose to eat, some type of pork, to represent Freyr. And then when they were doing their oaths to each other, they would be doing it, touching the piece of bacon, and they would be, making the oaths over the meat, the bacon, so that then after they would eat the meat, and they were eating their oaths. So then they couldn't break their oaths. And then they would do the same thing. The father would do the same thing also at the Yule supper over the pork. That's why they would normally use the whole boar head and everything. You always see the big full pig with the head and all. That tradition is from the pagan days. That is for Freyr, because what you would do is the father would stand and then he'd put his hand over the pork at the table over the head of the boar, or if they didn't have the head in modern times, or just over the roast or ham or whatever. And then you would swear an oath to your family to always be faithful and fulfill your duties to your family in the upcoming year. And then it would move on, and then the mother would swear the same thing, and then the sister and brother and everybody would swear their oath to the family of loyalty for the upcoming year and doing their duties to each other. And for themselves, of course. So yeah, that is a bit about Yule. And yeah, like I say, the marriages was perfect because they would also use the Thor's hammer the way, you know, Christians use a cross nowadays. They would use a Thor's hammer to, you know, seal the boundary stakes in for the marriage. And then, you know, Freyr would be there for them to make their oaths over the pork, and then they would share the pork in sharing the oaths. And yeah, that is a bit about Yule. Tschüss.